Just like with any relationship, right? You might go through a breakup and it could be the most painful thing you've ever had. You have to grieve that even if you know it was for the best, because there's still the good memories, there's still the good times, and there's still this really good feeling of belonging that all of us want. We all want to belong.
I'm Brittany Lane, your host of the Energize Effect podcast. I was convinced that success, freedom, and happiness weren't for people like me. That if I wasn't born into wealth or didn't have the right connections, I'd never really make it. But after I had my daughter, I started questioning every single belief that told me I wasn't good enough. And what I've learned is that the biggest thing that kept me from my dream life was me. My limiting beliefs ran my life on autopilot until I broke through them. Now I wake up excited with more opportunities and success than I've ever had, and I want you to feel the same. This podcast is no fluff, no filters, just raw, real conversations about breaking through what's holding you back so that you can wake up every day with an energized belief that anything is possible. Let's get into it.
How do you handle, I guess, now that dynamic when it is very fractured? You've pulled yourself away because it wasn't good for your self-health, but you do see these people every day and they have their group still and they stand there and they look at you and they talk. How do you navigate that as someone who struggles with self-worth, struggles with stepping up and speaking your truth and like having boundaries, but still have to see these people?
So I think, as cliche as this may be, I do think, and there is some research to support the idea that using some affirmations, self-affirmations, can actually be really helpful. So just like we said earlier with your kids, it's not going to be a one and done conversation.
Yeah.
You are going to have to remind yourself pretty frequently, maybe even daily, that you made a choice and your choice was to leave something that didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That might mean you have short-term discomfort when you see them, carpool or at the playground, but that short-term discomfort is worth your long-term success.
Yeah.
So you might have to remind yourself of that daily, frequently. And I would also consider working on developing other relationships or groups or connections in that same environment that can be a buffer for that feeling of, ooh, this still hurts over here.
Yeah, that's 100% what you said there. How did I feel being friends and how do I feel now? Okay, they were both uncomfortable, but which one am I more proud of myself for being and staying and being treated unpoorly, or am I more proud of myself that I stood up for myself, said this isn't good, and like I'm not going to be treated this way? And not that I said it, but it's a discomfort, but I'm proud of myself. And I was like, okay, I'm proud of myself for finally, after years of being a people pleaser and being walked all over, being like, I'm going to do what's right for me for once and not care. Not that I not care, but like,
It's not that you don't care, but you're not prioritizing how they might feel about you. You're prioritizing how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I want women to learn or understand, especially like these, and again, in private practice, I work a lot with like high achieving, people pleasing, somewhat perfectionistic women, right? Who learned that it's their job essentially to be good or perform or make others happy, not rock the boat, right? That someone might not like you is so uncomfortable. Or that you've like angered someone. Oh my God. Like that you've pissed someone off. Like that's so uncomfortable. And so I like to encourage women to keep affirming themselves that it doesn't feel good, but you absolutely can handle people not liking you. What you can't handle is not liking yourself.
That's the best way to word
And
it.
what kids can't handle is you not liking yourself.
Yeah. I still remind myself, like it has been almost 2 years now. If the listeners listening and hearing this, like it gets easier. I really do. I feel like I can like laugh about it now, like it's lighter, but there are still moments where I'm like, I have to reaffirm myself. I'm like, I made this choice for a reason. And like, it doesn't necessarily go away, but it does get easier in time.
It does get easier. And there's research, there is neurobiology that shows, or neuropsychology or neurophysiology that shows being excluded from a group, whether they've excluded you or you've felt like you've been forced to exclude yourself,
Yeah.
it works on the same neural pathways when you notice that exclusion as physical pain. It literally, our brain lights up the same pathways that would light up if you stub a toe or bang your elbow, the funny bone, right? That
Yeah.
same brain pathway lights up when you've been socially excluded. So the pain you feel, it's real. And so even if cognitively or logically this wasn't for the best, I removed myself because of X, Y, or Z, it still is going to hurt.
Yeah.
So just because you've made the right decision or a wise decision doesn't mean it doesn't hurt any less.
Yeah.
And you also have to realize there's a grieving period. Even
Yeah.
if, just like with any relationship, right? You might go through a breakup and it could be the most painful thing you've ever had, a romantic breakup. You have to grieve that even if you know it was for the best, because there's still the good memories, there's still the good times, and there's still this really good feeling of belonging that all of us want. We all want to belong.
Yeah.
And so it's normal that it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt for a while, but it will get better.
I think just hearing that is like so validating. I think sometimes you just need to hear that pain is valid and it's normal. And
Yeah.
so if someone's listening and thinking, oh crap, I've been the mean girl, what do they do with that? Or how could they take ownership without spiraling?
Yeah, and same goes for anyone listening who thinks, "Oh my God, I'm the mean girl." So I do have people come to me like, "It's me," and I'm like, again, just like we don't want to, yeah, Taylor Swift, thank you. Just we don't want to overgeneralize people being the mean girls.
Yeah.
I don't want people over assuming that because they've had people will say, "Oh my God, but I only invited 3 people for a play date." That's okay. We're talking about big patterns, purposeful or intentional things here. We're not talking about oops or I can only afford to have 6 kids at a birthday party. Totally different. So if you think you may have been the mean girl, I think what's better to do is take current pro-social action. So what that might mean is have awareness of how you're showing up in spaces and what in those spaces can you do to look more inclusive, to be more inclusive, and what maybe led you, what fear or insecurity was driving you to feel like you had to control a dynamic or not be so nice? Was it something in your personal life that you were struggling with, so you were showing up everywhere not so great? Was it something about a fear of falling behind or your kid falling behind? So do some introspection, do some journaling, do some mindfulness around why might I have shown up that way, and give yourself compassion,
Yeah.
right? Don't beat yourself up about it because that's not going to help.
It's like we said earlier, there's something under there that needs to be healed. And I think awareness and realizing that you've had pain or you need something to heal something, I think every trigger is showing us that something needs to be healed.
Yeah, even if it's one of those sort of less ideal emotions or less comfortable to talk about emotions like jealousy or envy. If you're feeling that and that's causing you to be mean or overly competitive or overly judgmental, I also think those are feelings and you have to listen to that. Why am I feeling envious? What is lacking? What is missing? What do I need to not feel that way? Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that we're having the less comfortable to talk about emotions, right? It doesn't feel good to say, I feel envious or I'm jealous. And sometimes those feelings are what drives some relational aggression or mean girl behavior. And it's normal to feel jealous and envious. It's just how are we gonna express that? We don't want to act on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to ask a question because this is something I've wondered. Why does it seem like the mean girl mom targets certain women and not others? Is she doing this behind closed doors and we're just seeing a piece of it? Or is there something about certain people that trigger that behavior more? Talking about jealousy, what is that? It's like all these people think that this girl is the nicest person in the world. Then I feel these ways and I'm like, okay, is she just acting like this to me or am I overly sensitive because of my past? Yeah, what What is that?
So it's probably a combo of A, you're feeling it because you're aware. So you might be someone who is compassionate or has been historically a people pleaser or aware of other people's opinions or wanting to make other people feel comfortable. So some of it might be that you have this natural awareness that someone else might not. But sometimes it also comes down to the people that do speak up or can't be controlled or aren't going to fall into line. Sometimes there's certain personalities that give off that impression that I'm not just going to go with the flow, or I am going to speak my mind, or you may be giving off something that feels threatening to someone else. And that could be down to what you do for work could make someone feel threatened and not someone else. It could even be down to that they think you have a better hairstyle than they. It can be anything that feels threatening to them. It's usually a threat. It could be lots of other things, but it typically comes down to some sort of a threat.
Which I think, again, for the person experiencing this, I think that hearing that, like, it's not because you're not worthy, it's because actually the opposite. You probably threaten them or make them feel something that doesn't sit well with. So, like, actually, you're doing the opposite. You're actually thriving and doing so good that you're like making
So
them.
it can also be parenting styles. So I've had friend groups or see things where people sort of start scapegoating or not liking someone because they don't like their parenting style.
Yeah.
And again, at the end of the day, if we ask ourselves, does it really matter? Like you're not becoming family with this person. You're not marrying what it really comes down to is their parenting style may be different than yours, and then you therefore feel threatened by something so very different from what you're doing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it also comes down to, can people tolerate differences?
Yeah, we're all
Without
different.
differences feeling like a threat.
It's a wild thing, but yeah, I feel like we're so different, and we're in a time that, like, you don't have to necessarily agree, but I guess you find your people. I think this is a process of finding your people. You go through it, you learn what you don't like, just like in a relationship. It's okay, I date this person. I don't like that. This isn't maybe right for me, and you find it. And in saying that, like, I do have a couple really close friends from childhood, but I've actually made friends at the same school that I wouldn't have necessarily been friends with. And it's been a slow burn, but like we're more in alignment, and the friendship is easy and we laugh. And I'm like, wow, like it took time because now I have this like hand up. I'm not like instant friendship, that instant love bombing that will never work for me again. But like I'm grateful for the process, even though it's been hard, but it's allowed me to learn about myself and also how I want to interact with people. And just having that slow burn, I think, is something that I'm grateful for, because I don't need to be instant friends with everyone. It's okay to learn who people are.
Absolutely. And in therapy sessions, I often talk with people about, we don't leave relationships, or I try not to have people break up or leave relationships when they're in an emotional space.
Yeah.
Right? If you're really feeling emotional, I'm usually like, let's wait on that. Let's sit on that for a minute. The same thing can be said for forming your relationships, right? You don't want to jump into a relationship in a very emotional space, even if that emotion is positive.
Yeah.
It feels good and you're like, let's do it.
Right now.
Let's go real quick. You want to be a little bit slow and thoughtful and see what unfolds. And that's not to say you can't have quick friends. Sometimes that does happen, but it's also okay for it to be somewhat more of a slower burn as you're being careful and digesting and figuring out, is this a fit for me at this stage in my life?
Yeah. I can't take the emotional roller coaster of going through this again. I'm like, being through it, I'm like, that's why it's a slow burn, because I'm just not willing to, like, it really disrupts your whole life. Like, as crazy as that sounds, it really is mind consuming and all like it distracts you. So what's the difference between having a boundary and being seen as cold as mean? Because I feel like those wires get crossed a lot. Like, I feel like I won't necessarily have a conversation with this person in passing. Like, I just keep my own way, but that might be seen as cold or mean. Like, how do you navigate that?
While I have you, I want to ask you a question. Do you know the quickest way to become your most authentic self? The version of you who is capable of anything and feels exhilarating to be.
the version of you that calls in wealth, love, and your dream life where anything is possible. Here it is. We usually have a major block that we don't see. But once we discover it and know it, we become aware of it. And that's when we can start to make changes, even unconsciously. So uncover your block to become the best version of you with this free quiz linked in the description. It's the same quiz that's helped me and so many others uncover what's holding us back.
Is this with someone who you've had like a falling out with, or with this group in particular, or do you mean with anybody?
I think the group in particular, I guess. If you're going with the mean moms and you stand up, and then how do you see that?
I think it does also come back to how you think about what is perceived as cold.
Yeah.
So we can perceive having a boundary as being mean, or being cold, or distant, or aloof, or we can label it as I am protecting a vulnerable spot in my life. Yeah. So I think a lot of it comes down to how we frame it, we take around it. And you can have boundaries and be warm at the same time, right? So you could pass by. So there's a big difference between passing by someone and refusing to make eye contact and turning your body away. There's a big difference between that, walking past someone and saying, hey.
Yeah.
Huge difference, still boundaried, right? Yeah. So you can have manners. You can have manners and not be close with someone.
Yeah.
So sometimes you want to just show up and have manners and say, hi, how's it going? And that can still be a boundary, but not cold.
And I think it takes away too that, I don't know, there's just this something, I don't know what the word is, but like when you just say, hey, it's just like it doesn't bother you. It's just like it takes away that. Whereas if you do just walk past and you're look the other way, it's almost as if they're still affecting you or bothering you. It's almost like, hey, whatever, hey, what up?
Yep. So there's a technique in a therapy called dialectical behavior therapy, or deep, and one of the skills is called opposite action. And that's not for the other person. It's to turn down the dial of that anger you're feeling, right? So if you walk past someone and you are like, I'm going to give them an eye roll, your anger goes up, right? You don't feel better. You feel actually worse.
Yeah.
If you walk past that same person and you say, hey, or hi, or, and then give a little smile, that would be the little bit kind. You're still kind of avoiding, right? You're walking by. But you're throwing on that little bit kind piece, and all that does is that turns down the dial for yourself of the intensity. Yeah.
You're doing it for you.
Better. You're doing it for you. You're not doing it for them. It's for you, so you can be more at peace.
That's so helpful, because I feel like that is a really hard, how do you navigate? It's so hard to know when you've never done this before, like what do you do? So I guess that leads to the question, so what if someone is recognizing that they are in a toxic maybe group and they want to step away, but they do have to see all these people all the time at school, work, family gatherings. Like, how do you protect your energy without it becoming this big dramatic thing?
So one thing, there's a technique called gray rocking, which is, I don't know if you've heard of it or if your listeners have heard of it, but it's usually used in complicated family dynamics or dysfunctional families when you don't necessarily want to have a full cutoff with the family member, but you need to protect your emotional energy. And so it's a little bit like, the idea is that you show up like a gray rock. You're kind of boring. You're like blah. You're not really giving them anything to go off of to create more drama or to create more. It's not giving them fuel for the fire. It's where you might start politely saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it," or "Thank you so much for the invite, but right now I'm working on saving money," or whatever it is. But you're not going to directly come out because maybe it's not safe, or maybe you don't want this big explosion. You're just politely starting to slowly remove yourself emotionally from the dynamic. Easier said than done. You probably need support. You're going to have to repeat those affirmations over and over again that it's okay. You're allowed to leave groups that don't feel good to you, to find things that do feel better. And you're just becoming a little more emotionally removed.
It's a slow way to remove yourself. And I feel like it's almost a safer way instead of just like cutting it off like I did cold turkey. It's like I feel like it's not so drastic and probably, well, less dramatic.
And it also gives you a chance to, you do have to see these people. And so you may not have the capacity emotionally to say, I'm going to tell you all why I'm leaving and why this group is terrible for me, because that might result in more damage to yourself or to your child than if you just quietly remove yourself. And if someone does come to you and say, I notice you haven't been showing up, you actually don't owe them your true, transparent reason.
I love that.
Again, you want to be truthful with yourself, and you don't want to flat out lie, right? So you don't want to say, I'm dealing with a sick family member when you're not. But you can give them just what you feel safe enough with. I'm pulling back from social things right now, or I'm really trying to save money, or I'm really trying to spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
Or, you can give reasons, but you don't have to give them full transparency if they haven't earned it.
I'm going through a healing journey because you've hurt me, but you don't have to say that. But I'm healing through something right now. That's totally honesty. Yeah.
And leave off the second half of it's because of you, right?
Yeah, so, don't say that. No, don't say that. But I'm just laughing because that is like
slowly, soon enough, they'll be on to the next person.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
What do you wish more moms really understood about themselves when it comes to friendship and belonging?
That if you're going to belong, yes, you have to show up as a good friend, but being a good friend doesn't mean you have to perform or be something that you're not. You can find good, strong, healthy friendships, and those friendships, yes, they will take work. I'm not saying they don't take work and they don't take showing up maybe when you don't want to sometimes, but in general, you should feel like you showing up is enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to show up and then be something you're not. Please somebody you're not comfortable with. Your showing up should be enough.
I love that. I feel like I notice who I feel energized after and who I feel defeated after. And like it consistently, like we said, it's not just a one-time thing.
Right,
and I'm
right.
working on being more transparent. If I'm not showing up in my same energy, to just be like, hey, you know what? Sorry, I'm not my usual self. I had a rough day. Instead of being like cold and shut down and not, I would never be like that, but like I can understand how if you weren't feeling your normal self, went through something, you had a fight with your spouse, had a fight with your family, like whatever, you may not be that same energetic person. And I'm finding just sharing that, you don't have to be so specific, but like, hey, I just had a rough day. Sorry, I'm not like myself. Because I never want someone to feel the way I felt, rejected or like questioning, did you do something? I want them to know. And I think for me, that's how I show up as a good friend, is not leaving other people questioning where they stand.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. And feeling comfortable with sharing just enough so that they understand, but not so much that you're taking too big of a risk of vulnerability if you don't feel safe in that relationship yet.
Yeah, exactly.
There's certain friends where we'll say everything and anything, right? But this is about the friendships you're feeling out. Yeah. The other thing I would love for more moms to think about, a PSA, is how our behavior, and again, this isn't to create hyper awareness or hyper vigilance or anxiety, but how even small gestures can make a huge difference. So if you're in a group, if you're in a friend group and I use this example all the time, but there's a new kid showing up on the sports team. Just take a minute, look around, be the person that gives someone, hey, how are you? Or is this your first time here? Is your kid new here? Just taking a minute to have some awareness outside of your own safe group, if you have one. Really, I'm big on body language. So when groups are standing in a tight, closed circle, I can't stop noticing that. You should always have a little bit of space if you're at a party or if you're at a kid's event to let the newcomer in. Have inclusive behavior, both verbally and physically, for people.
Yeah, it doesn't feel safe to walk into that tight group. You're like,
Nobody
oh my gosh.
can do that. That's so, I like to think that I have awareness of, okay, is there someone, and that's not because I'm trying to take care of everybody, even though that obviously I do naturally, but if just more people could have a little bit more of an open mind and an open physical stance, I think that can go a really long way.
think awareness is key. Just, would you want to be treated that way? If you were in the opposite shoes, like a compliment. Like, I don't be fake about it, but I'm like, if
Yeah.
I like someone's dress, I'm like, wow, your dress is really nice, or their hair looks good. I don't know. I think like I saw a quote by Robin Williams, and it's like the people that have been hurt the most are so kind because they don't want anyone to ever feel like they felt. And I'm like, I guess that's just like such a powerful, how are you making people feel? And just a smile, even if that's all you can offer, is
Yeah.
just to be kind. We need
Right.
kind people. That's what
Right.
our world needs to become.
Absolutely. And I actually just did a post recently about, and if you can't be kind, at a minimum, be well mannered.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if you
I
can't
love
be
that.
kind, just let's throw it back to manners,
Yeah.
right?
Simple.
Just say hello, be polite, welcome someone. You don't have to have coffee with them every day for the
Yeah.
next week and a half. But just if you can't be kind, be well mannered.
Love that.
It's,
It's the bare
yeah,
minimum. I love that. That's
that's it.
hilarious.
Treat other people with manners.
I know. And I feel like that is something that we need to get back to because it's gone a little to
Yes.
the other way. Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Noelle, thank you so much. You are amazing. I love your post. Thank you for all your insight today. Where can people find you? Who do you work with? What kind of clientele? If they're experiencing what? Tell us all your stuff.
I only have Instagram for right now, and TikTok, but I am working on a website finally. So it both will be, the website's just going to be www.drnoelle, Noelle, Santorelli.com. And that's the same, my Instagram handle and TikTok, it's all the same. So DRNOELLE Santorelli.
And we'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome. Unfortunately, my practice is full. It's usually full because I'm a one-man show. I typically work with high-achieving women that come from backgrounds of some degree of family dysfunction or some dynamic that has made them particularly prone to perfectionism, people-pleasing, and which is prime ground for being victim to these kinds of situations sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Learning
The
to
recipe
set boundaries. Yep. Setting boundaries, learning that, again, you liking yourself is more important than making sure everybody else likes you.
I love that. That's a key point. I think that's so important. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for posting on Instagram because without it, I wouldn't have found you and wouldn't have been able to have this conversation. And I think this is going to resonate with so many women. And just thank you. You're so kind, warm-hearted, and I've just enjoyed our time. And thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much for having me.